Viva!
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride!
And
Out. Ano,
you're coming out?
This is my coming out story. Remember yung era ng yung era ng YouTube na sunod-sunod yung coming out. Like 2014, Connor Franta, Troye Sivan.
Before we talk more about coming out, let us introduce the audience to our special guest today. All our dead gay ancestors and trans mothers and fathers who are joining us in spirit in the studio today.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the spirits of our ancestors, our queer ancestors.
Who are watching over us and encourage us to have a happy and militant pride.
Anong tawag sa mga babaylan?
Mga babaylan, mga katalonan.
Mga katalonan. Pero yeah, happy Pride everyone. This is officially the Pride episode, like a few weeks in Pride Month. Girl, you've been so busy.
Not that busy. I actually have I might usually I plug my events at the end, but I do have a number of events coming this week.
Plug. Okay.
Peg.
Can you what have you been up to so far this month?
I will give a keynote address at the Pride Festival in PUP on Saturday. I will be taking part in Talasalitaan, which is a nice chikahan sa Centro ng Wikang Filipino on Monday. And I'll also be speaking at an event at Instituto Cervantes at their Orgullo event on Friday.
Okay, with the accent too.
Cervantes. You lisp C if it comes before E and I, or you also lisp Z, but that's only like in European Spanish.
Oh my God, lisping.
So
gay.
Cervantes.
So gay. No.
What's the gayest language?
Gayest lang. Syempre, Becky Mon.
Of course, Becky Mon.
Meron tayo sa Pilipinas.
Ano tawag ni Vice ulit? Vice ganda? Uzeklo. Di ba yung movie niya In the Breadwinner, she had a term for Becky Mon.
Have you ever tried to be fluent in Becky Mon?
Well, it always changes, no? That's what I love about language.
Dynamic.
Although, I remember nung undergrad ako, medyo, well, konyo pa rin ako naman, pero nung undergrad ako, parang mas na-expose pa rin ako sa, Becky Mon as a closeted. I wasn't closeted. As a closeted trans girl. I was a closeted trans girl masquerading as an open gay man.
As a cis
ako
gay boy.
So parang in College of Mass Communication Student Council, parang meron silang free ice candy sa summer kasi sobrang Janet Jackson. And I was like, Janet Jackson? What does Janet Jackson have to do with this?
Masaya maging bakla, no?
That's
for
true.
For the most part.
For many parts. For some parts, hindi. And I like how the gay accent transcends language. Like, there's this thing on TikTok I've been seeing recently, like, is he gay or Lebanese?
Mm-hmm. Is he gay or he's just...
Is he gay or European?
Gay or European? That's the question.
We'll never know. But what's your currently, like right now, what's your favorite part about being gay? Like, both major and minor.
Major and minor.
Both pwede major, pwede macro pero micro.
I majored in...
Well, anong specialization mo in being gay?
In being... Media. The queer media. I am a queer in media myself. Masayang mababad eh. So I think medyo I'm also working in the media.
Talking to different gay people in different communities.
Gay people and pero honestly, it's come to a point, kailan ko ba tinanggap na ganito ako, na hindi ako katanggap-tanggap sa mata ng pamilya ko. Minsan hindi rin eh. Pero since 2017, it's almost been a decade since I've come to terms with my sexuality and gender, and it's come to a point na parang you just don't even care anymore about those things.
That's true.
It's important to talk about, but at some point, you realize na it's not all about gender, it's not all about sexuality.
Yeah. You get more comfortable, no?
Definitely get more comfortable. Primarily with myself, but also with other queer people. Diba? Kasi may face talaga na kapag magiging cis gay man ka, medyo mahulog ka sa trap na, ay, dapat yung mga bakla, dapat hindi mga nagpipils, mga baklang to. Hindi bagay mag-pills, Mami Junisha type the beat. So, pero eventually, you realize we're just trying to live here, trying to exist, no? to make life any more harder for anyone else.
Yeah, a lot of gender is really a performance and how you act. And, I think we found the kind of performance we want to put on, the kind of show we want to put on to people.
Oh yeah, like this show.
Like this show. How we want to dress, how we want to carry ourselves, how we want to act. And what's wrong with how we act? It's not hurting anybody. Well, maybe it's like hurting homophobes, transphobes who have a very restrictive
religious
idea.
extremists.
Yeah, who have a very, very restrictive idea of how people should act. But like, girl, just close your eyes.
You don't even have to look. You don't even have to watch and listen.
Just like go back to what like straight conservative people do, which is like, what do they do? I'm not familiar with that culture.
Read the Bible.
I do love the Bible though.
Magkaibang Biblia siguro yung binabasa.
No,
Okay,
no,
how come you turned out right?
Well, right is subjective, but my favorite quote in the Bible is the one from the Song of Songs where they talk about thighs of ivory inlaid with precious gems and breasts like twin hills and gazelles. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Thank you,
quote.
Pastor Lakan, for your daily reading and affirmation.
Hi, divas! We like a lot of things. Short kings.
Fruits.
And supporting small businesses, which is why this episode is sponsored by
Riot Grill.
otherwise known as Riot Grill.
Yes, alam mo lang ang daming binebenta mo sa sarap dito sa Riot Grill.
Like ikaw.
Well, I'm not for sale, diva. How dare you?
Like education, not for sale.
Exactly. Pero dito sa Riot Grill, alam niyo kung ano meron. Ito, kita niyo to, a Riot Burger with cheese. Tikman nga natin, Lakan.
Okay, sis. Ikaw sa harap,
Subo mo
ako
sa-
sa likod.
Sige,
Okay,
sige.
okay.
Mamaya
Subo ka
ikaw
na?
sa likod.
Subo ka na?
Subo mo sa
Okay.
akin. So, obviously may cheese siya. Kasi Riot Burger with cheese siya. Di ba?
Malaman?
Malaman. The patty is made from chicken. Chicken patty siya. So, sa mga bawal sa beef, mga bawal sa pork, mga bawal sa fish dyan, ito ang para sa inyo. Kung may allergy kayo sa chicken, magdala na lang kayo ng antihistamine. Ito, unreleased special para lang sa video na to. Special menu nila Lakan. Susubo ko to sa'yo to.
Okay.
Pasta nila. So, sobrang bago niya. Wala pa siya actually yung pangalan. Pero, abangan nyo sa menu ng Riot Grill.
Darating mo na po ang live name ng pasta.
So, para siyang aglio e olio. Di ba? Did I pronounce that right to our Italian audiences?
Very
Pero
simple, very delicious. Malinis yung
malinis, di ba? May tomato siya, di ba? At every Friday, anong meron to sa Riot Grill?
May vegan option ng Riot Grill. Alam naman natin that we prioritize animal safety maliban sa mga barumbadong animal dyan. So, if you love animals, you should go to Riot Grill on Fridays because they have a vegan option.
Yeah, Vegan Fridays ang tawag nila. Ngayon, saan ang Riot Grill? Kaya na pa kami kain ng kain dito, di nyo alam kung saan yung Riot Grill. Matatagpuan siya sa Masukal Bistro at 45 Matintiman Street, Teachers Village East, kung di ako nagkakamali. Basta malapit sa UP Diliman. So, kung may gusto kayong idalhin sa date, kung may gusto kayong actually sa hapon, maganda tong study area.
Yes, magandang study area. If you want to show someone around QC, yung mga hidden gems po dito sa city, this is one of them. Ang
Ito yun.
sarap ng food, ang sarap ng ambience,
Yes, ang sarap.
ambiance.
Ang sarap ng mga tao kasama. So, thank you. Thank you, Riot Grill. Thank you kay Ate Cindy na isa sa mga progenitor, isa sa mga may-ari ng Riot Grill for sponsoring this episode
This
of
segment
Talkback.
of Talkback.
This whole
So-
episode, girl,
Oh, this whole episode.
is sponsored by...
Okay, I should read the prompt better. Thank you for saving that meal.
So, come to Riot Grill. And again, thank you, Riot Grill.
See you, girlies.
Bye, divas! So, ikaw, anong favorite part mo so far about being trans?
I think my favorite part about being trans and being queer is that I think that I think there's a particular sensibility that I think that I'm not saying all gay people or queer people have it, but I do think that when you grow up queer, you already get a sense that what people do, there's not necessarily a natural order. That what people tell you to be is at odds with who you are. And I feel growing up with that tension allows you to look at things with more complexity. So like, you can understand more contradictions in the world. For example, like how come a select few privileged people are able to exert power over the vast majority? Why do the poor vote for the rich and against their own interests? How can people get away with normalizing the worst kinds of violence? So and I think I'm not saying that all those things are like being queer is the solution to all of those things, but I do think that being queer allows you that perspective of seeing how things work at the root level. That okay, a lot of these systems are really in place to maintain power in the hands of a few people. And if like you're queer, if you're a woman, if you're working class, if you're fisher folk, these systems are not made for you.
Yeah, kasi tingin ko rin kapag makaranas ka talaga ng pang-aapi, may tendency talaga na ma-realize mo rin na ay, hindi lang pala to tungkol sa isang bagay na nararanasan ko personally. Tagpi-tagpi rin pala yung mga issue, di ba? Kasi like, isang mga pinakamalaking magandang insights na natutunan ko over the years, so actually, sa pagpasok sa pagiging student activist, way back when, talagang ko nun, alam mo nung kasi syempre, di ba, nung nag-college ako, ladlad si Bakla, di ba? So parang na-realize ko, oh my God, nung mga nakilala ko na yung mga taong yung nagpamulat sa akin, no? So ano pala talaga? Maraming bakla sa mundo eh. Maraming bakla sa mga komunidad ng farmers and workers. So parang okay, so parang hindi lang to iisang issue at hindi lang dapat iisang parang concentrated sa calls for gender, which is important syempre, 'di ba? Kasi as of now walang existing na policy to prevent gender bukod sa bawal bastos pero that's
well, of course, there are
harassment.
local ordinances like the Gender Fair Ordinance in QC, but nationwide, there really isn't like a SOGI bill to protect.
Yeah, which policy making is important because whatever the policy is, it's how it changes how people behave, how people act. Yung pakikitungo natin sa isa't isa. So, yeah, ganun. Sana magbago soon, habang buhay pa. Sana maranasan natin, no? In our lifetimes.
But I do feel there's been a lot of progress because like I remember in the 2000s when everyone was just so everyone had a very stereotypical idea of what it was like to be gay or to be a
2000,
lesbian.
how old are you?
Age reveal.
Age reveal.
We have a problematic host age gap.
Problematic mo yun? 4 years?
5 years. 4 years. 4 years.
years.
That's you were born early and I was born late in 95.
Oh, that's parang lang yun. Naka-escape ka sa K-12,
Yes,
diba?
I was able to escape, but I wasn't able to escape the rampant homophobia and transphobia of the 2000s. Were you ever an American Idol fan?
Not, nung lang si Jessica Sanchez.
Not Jessica Sanchez.
Nung natalo siya. Shut up.
Do you remember the season with Adam Lambert?
Yes.
Oh my God, like, you might not have been alive when, he came out on broadcast TV nung wala pang streaming. And like, people are still watching his interviews on like Star World or ETC and basic cable. But I remember interviewers would ask him that like, okay, so you're gay. Did you feel the need to apologize to your child fans? And it was just so crazy.
Oh, alam ko to dahil sa TikTok.
because-
Alam ko to dahil sa TikTok now. Kasi nakita ko yung mga interviews niya about that. It's wild Parang,
Wild that like in the mid 2000s you'd have to apologize for being gay because people assumed it was like some weird sexual kink. And there's nothing wrong with weird sexual kinks, but like also you have to apologize for being who you are.
parang, well, kasi sabi mo nga, marami nang nagbago. Pero kumbaga may marami pa ring remnants ng ganyan eh.
Did you ever feel that like you had to excel as a queer person para, bawiin yung pagiging bakla mo?
Yeah, this is, oo, kasi parang, alam mo sa school, hindi ko na-realize nung una na tungkol pala siya sa pagiging, binabaik ko, ganon, medyo malamya, ganon, yung pagkilos-kilos. Pero kaya pala ako pinupush na parang, galingan mo, sumali ka sa student government, mag-ano ka dito, pumunta ka dito sa event
Kailangan
na to.
first honor ka, diba?
Mag-aral ka ng mabuti. Kasi may may tinitig, among other things, yung gender aspect, yung parang mababa yung pagtingin sa mga ganong uri ng tao, lalo na sa probinsya, di ba? So parang, nung coming to terms with my gender sexuality and everything, meant also, reckoning with the fact na ganun pala yung pinagdaanan ko nung kabataan ko kasi Ganun yung pagtingin sa akin. Which sucks, you know?
Which sucks, no? Queer kids should not have to, it's hard enough being queer, no? But queer kids should not have to feel that extra pressure na parang palaging kailangan silang excellent. Palaging kailangan silang at their best to be able to be recognized and accepted, which is just like wrong because we don't expect that from like straight people. Like, yes, we do have queer excellence, but what about queer mediocrity? What about queer failure? We can't be excellent all the time. I remember, girl, di ba alam mo naman pumunta ako sa all-boys school.
Yes.
At alam mo naman yung pagtakas sa
You might have
pambubuli.
mentioned.
Yung pagtakas ng pambubuli ay, gagawin yung homework ng mga kaklase o tagabuhat ng mga group work. Kasi ikaw yung bading, pero ikaw din yung matalino. So, the only way to avoid getting bullied is to, do the work of everyone else, which takes a toll on you. So, imagine a 13-year-old having to carry the duties of being a mother.
As a
like,
13-year-old.
yeah, to like what, 15,
Teenage
20
mom,
hyper pubescent boys.
Teenage mom. So, pero I guess, well, hindi to, I'm not saying this is like the bright side of things, pero being like pushed and like the pressure on you to be excellent. Look at us now.
Mentally ill.
Mentally ill.
Poor and mentally ill.
Well, like, kaya ako magaling kahit pa paano mag-English, mga ganyan-ganyan. O sa'yo maging bakla rin minsan kasi kapag ayaw mo na magsalita, you just make random noises na lang.
Yeah, onomatopoeic noises.
Like, you're kicking with
Jade saw, Miss Jade saw.
Parang,
Oh. Which, to be fair, is also derived from black women and African American vernacular
yeah,
English.
the ballroom scene.
The ballroom
up
scene,
in the
yes.
New Yorks, the Americas.
Yes.
It's cool to me how worldwide the ballroom scene is right now. Because, kung visibility lang din may pag-uusapan, nandun talaga yung mga bakla-bakla, di ba? Sa mga ballroom scene. Dito you've walked the ball.
I have walked some ball. I have gotten my tens.
Anong categories yung winok mo nun?
Realness. Because realness historically in the ballroom is a category that's meant for trans or non-binary people to really upset their ideas of what it means to be a quote-unquote real man or woman. Okay,
diba?
and as we've learned over the years, there's not really one way of being a man or a woman. Much like there's not one way of being a person. There's not one way of being a journalist. There's not one way of being a failure. We've seen many kinds of failures in life and they're all valid.
Yeah, I mean, the government is failing us every day. That's not valid, though.
That's not valid.
Alam mo ba,
The director of Drag Race Philippines.
Oh.
And relatable though, crashing out online, relatable.
Crashing out online. Bibi.
I do think that's important having friends though who'll be like, babe, stop.
It's important to have
Step away.
good and solid support system for times of need.
Who will tell you, babe, stop, step
Babe.
away from the keyboard.
Give me your phone.
Yeah.
Yo.
And we need to do that with each other if ever
Okay.
worst comes to worst.
Pero alam mo ba, magtataas daw natin ng 1 pesos naman yung jeepney fare.
Talaga?
By July.
Oh my God. Tapos diba, meron din yung parang digital services VAT na pinapatong sa Netflix and other digital media.
And Grindr too?
And Grindr. I haven't been on Grindr.
Alam mo kaya, so,
Seryoso ba, girl?
I mean, digital kasi, di ba? Sa Entos
Oo
may
nga, yung
Grindr
Grindr
Premium, di ba?
Premium,
So,
yeah.
malamang magtataas yung single sa Grindr Premium. Just so you know, kasi Pride Month ngayon, in Grindr is a Pride thing. It's a Pride thing.
Are we proud of Grindr? Well, it's been a part of our lives. Are we proud of it? We have had some shameful moments on it, but...
You know what? I'll invoke my right against self-incrimination in this one.
Same.
I have an image to uphold. Yung mga interns namin
Grindr?
nasa likod ng camera.
I hardly know her.
Grindr. You know, the one grinder I really like is yung
Coffee grinder.
nisaksak na. So you just have to
Yeah.
push the button.
Push
so that
the
grinder.
button, let me know.
Baka makapirate tayo. Let's talk about Pride now.
Yeah, okay.
We have to talk about Pride. Kasi sabi ko, contractually obligated tayo.
It's my favorite deadly sin.
Well, mine is gluttony. Love to eat.
Love to eat.
Love to eat, So Pride,
What was your first Pride experience?
my first Pride experience was in 2021, nung lockdown pa ang lahat sa bantayog ng mga bayani. It was cute. It was, it was a kiki. So yung march nun, ginawa sa may bandang Sitio San Roque. dun na part sa, anong road nga yun? Agham.
Yeah.
Tapos papunta dun sa bantag ng mga bayani. So, nakamask pa nun lahat. Ang init-init nun. Ginit, I had, had my head shaved. So, yeah, I was clocking in my non-binary tea for the first time in 2021. So, yun yung first Pride. Ikaw, anong first Pride mo?
I think the first Pride, of course, there will be Pride marches in UP, but I think the first like nationwide Pride event I went to was in Marikina Pride in 2018. It was a really wonderful event. Shout out to Metro Manila Pride for being one of the pioneers of organizing that large scale of an event. And I remember
Sa may sports complex to, di
ito
ba,
sa
sa
may
Marikina?
sports complex. Ang una ko natutunan ay ang kahalagahan ng public transportation kasi sobrang mahirap mag-commute palabas. My God, nakakalap na kami ng taxi ng kaibigan ko, si Noel. My God, hindi ko maalala kung anong oras na sa gabi. It took so long to get a taxi. But, of course, it's not the LGU's fault and it's not the organizers' fault. It's the design of our urban ecosystem, which makes it very car-centric.
Public transportation system.
Basically non-existent.
Girl.
But in that Pride March, in that
Yeah.
Pride event, I remember meron pang mga lumad, may mga, kasi at that time I think it was the dispute of nutrition, also ZAG workers. So may mga representatives from the different workers unions who also showed solidarity, and people also showed solidarity for them. And it was really wonderful.
That's nice. And maulan dun, no?
Maulan doon, but thankfully I think it was a drizzle.
was a
I wasn't
drizzle.
able to attend the Pride March last year
Yeah,
because
which I was gonna say.
I allocate certain seasons where I'm gay and not gay. So like for the first half of the year, I'm a single mother of 3 kids
Single mom who works 2 jobs.
who works 2 jobs as
Yes.
an airline stewardess, as an online reseller of PX goods. But I'm gay the second half of the year. So unfortunately,
Love that. You
Yeah.
can just turn it on and off, no? Last year yung Pride, kasi nabanggit mo na yung Pride sa may QC Circle.
Yes.
Girl, it was bad.
oh my
It was-
God. Well, it's
here-
not. Yeah, it's really hard to organize that big of an
Yeah,
event.
it was bad because, let me finish.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry for cutting off a queer person.
Yeah, okay, Trixie. Cutting off your Katya. So, it was bad for, well, una yung traffic. Kasi, di ba, hindi naman din kasalanan ng mga organization.
Yeah.
Kasi, matagal ng car-centric, matagal ng congested ang Metro Maynila. So, parang kapag may ganong event, di ba, doon talaga lilitaw yung ano. So, yung mga, may ilan ako mga kakilala na naglakad, like, halos mula sa dulo ng Kalayaan Avenue to papunta dun sa QC
Oh my
Circle.
God, I remember I walked then in Marikina Pride from like yung McDo sa Katipunan until the sports center.
Sister, oh my God.
I should have had Strava then. I knew I logged in a lot of steps.
Well, it was 2018, no? Different era, different decade. So, ganun yung eksena ng traffic doon. Tapos umulan last year nang malala. So, basang-basang sisiw. Props naman sa mga doon, sa mga mamshi doon kasi fun pa rin yung
Laban pa rin,
vibes pa rin,
kahit-
love-laban. Ganun, love-laban pa rin.
Kahit umuulan-ulan.
Kahit basang sisiw na lahat, basang mga bakla na lahat doon.
Dapat special guest this year, si Greta Thunberg, para hindi umulan.
Oo, di ba? You stealing my future. Sasabihin niya ron, di ba? Climate,
Blah, blah, blah,
blah, blah, blah. So, other than, kung wala yung mga aspects na yun, marangal yung I left early actually because of the situation I was anticipating.
Because you also need to clock out of being gay.
Yes, I was tired, diva. I did my interviews. I shot the B-rolls. I'm about to leave.
I heard though, like, nakita ko rin sa TikTok and like online videos of people saying that they didn't even support the LGBTQIA plus sector. Na pumunta lang sila sa Pride para panoorin ng Beanie at mga ibang
na hindi,
musical
na hindi
acts.
rin naman dumating. Di ba? Kasi yung
Yeah.
the weather and the traffic were terrible.
Yeah.
So, medyo pumupunta ka lang sa Pride event para sa acts. Is that valid?
Sana reflection moment yun sa mga allies. Hindi importante din yung mga allies. Pero at the same time, sana reflection din yun na parang pagpupunta ka lang sa Pride para sa musical performances like Diva, may iba't ibang concert naman throughout the year. Tapos parang it also kind of reminds me of the fact na minsan talaga kapag bakla ka, hindi necessarily tanggap or tinatanggi ka. It's like if you're only used for if you offer something, that's when people think you're a person. If you're just being who you are and you're not actively, helping people, that, suddenly biglang wala ka ng kwenta. And I think that like kind of instills a really bad mentality among us gay people na parang kapag wala tayong bisa, kapag wala tayong kwenta, suddenly like, sabi nga ni Billie Eilish, what was I made for?
So, one more thing. Sa major Pride events sa Philippines, di ba, itong mga bagay na to, should we also talk about the politics behind organizing these?
Well, I do think that like
things?
as gay people, we choose who we cancel. We choose our own families. So I think as gay people, it's also important that like as gay people, I think it's also important to recognize the fact that a lot of these issues that we face, they are really connected. Like of course, like things like the right to care card, same-sex marriage, HOJ equality, they're all important. But at the same time, even issues which aren't necessarily queer, like the minimum wage, whose increase was recently turned down.
So recently, yung sa last session ng Congress, hindi ipinasa ng Senate ang 200 pesos sana na wage increase for the minimum wage, which in Metro Manila right now, it's like 600 something. So imagine, magiging 800 sana yung konting taas, hindi pa rin sapat, kasi mag-oil price hike na naman, di ba? So sayang, di ba, hindi pinasa yun. So, which
And
could be queer,
yeah,
you know?
it could be. It's queer. It
It is
does
an
affect queer
LGBT
people.
issue. Ang daming queer people in poverty right now.
Yeah, like ako, I spent around 1,500 pesos a month on medicines for my HRT, which is like, and my dosage is like one of the lowest dosages you could take as a trans.
1.5 na yun.
Tapos 1.5 na yun. And what about like trans girls who have even worse gender dysphoria, who need larger dosages or a different kind of medicinal program, who might have to spend more. And what if they're earning minimum wage? Just go, they won't be able to afford, basic healthcare. Healthcare in the Philippines is already terrible for like most people. It's even worse for trans people and like queer people.
Yeah, and also we have to talk about the before we talk about this, what I was talking about, the politics of organizing the Pride events was, there's squabbling.
What's squabbling?
Like, among the organizers.
Why?
Yung mga hindi nagkakasundo sa kung ano yung messaging dapat, di ba? I mean, sa part ko, ito na nga lang, June na nga lang, di ba, yung para ma-maximize yung visibility ng queer people, para i-push yung agenda, the gay agenda, di ba? Which is, equality for all genders.
Yeah.
Ipoksain yung wafazin yung gender-based discrimination, etc., etc. Pass the SOGI equality bill, 'di ba? Tapos come, the Pride event, magkakagulo-gulo pa sa messaging kasi ayaw ng isang grupo sa politics na pinaninindigan na itong isang particular group, 'di ba? So yung tendency, nagkakawatak-watak yung Pride events, may division, 'di ba? So gusto lang sabihin, sana naman, 'di ba? Come Pride Month, may unities na mabuo, kasi hindi rin pwedeng sa loob ng komunidad ng mga kabaklaan ay hati-hati rin tayo when may malaki at very real, very totoo, very concrete na mga tao, mga grupo, mga realidad na kumakalaban na gustong gustong ipagkait actually yung mga basic nating karapatan. At the end of the day, pare-pareho naman tayo ng gustong ipaglaban. So, why not just unite?
Yes. And like what seems too radical right now is honestly, it's subjective. Like, okay, like maybe a few decades ago, two men or women kissing in public might have seemed radical, but because we were able to fight for it, it's something which is generally more accepted and acceptable now. So we shouldn't just worry about how people will perceive our messaging. We should also focus on what we need. What do we need? What do we need to gain right now as queer people? We need Beanie to release a song in Filipino again. Sure.
Oh, girl, they're coming for you. Ano
Sure,
fandom
I
nila?
love
Anong
you.
fandom
I love
nila?
you, Blooms. I love you, Blooms.
Blooms.
Although I was kind of shocked at like how young they are. Like they just graduated SHS.
Oh,
Like, why are you on Good
right.
Morning America? You should be at the club, girls. You should be resting,
You
girls.
should be, you should be studying for your entrance exam. Girl, oh nga no, nasa US sila no recently. So good for Beanie. Love. Yung alam mo nung kailan ba yun? UP Fair nun, I think 2023. Nag-perform sila sa UP Fair 2023. Naging bias ko talaga si Maloy nun. Kasi 'di ba media partner, cover doon. Tapos hindi ko pa alam yun. Pero sabi ko, go me mga slay natin to. Tapos si Maloy like locked in, clocked me, and like, slay natin to. Ganun. So parang, alay, so parang, they get it.
Yes.
They get the tea. They are of my generation right now. And
Which I cannot relate to because, again, we have a big age gap.
and I also hope they release a new song in Filipino soon.
And I hope they get some sleep because, girl.
Oh, everyone is tired now.
Yeah, everyone's tired now. And apparently, I don't know if this is true. Please fact check me if I'm wrong. But like, you can still grow like even up to like physically grow even when you're like 25. So baka tumakad ka pa by a few inches. You might reach Jacob Elordi height, girl.
Don't curse me. Mahirap na nga humanap ng pantalon na hindi nagiging cut off sa size ko ngayon.
Cut off, ate.
Ang upcoming na Pride events, because it's
Yeah.
what we're shooting on June 20th right
Yeah.
now. So on 26, just updates, calendar updates. Mark your calendars. June 26th there will be a Pride March to Mindola.
Okay, to Mindola, okay.
This is the Mindola Pride. Mindola Pride.
Who is leading it?
Which is organized by Hali, Philippines. Not to scare anyone, pero nung under the pandemic, di ba? No 2020,
Yes.
Mindola was also the site of what was supposed to be a Pride protest, because Pride is a protest, a Pride March protest in Mindola under the trigger warning, the lockdown there, the COVID-19 lockdown pandemic. Pero dahil mga police yung idinideploy ng mga lockdown yun sa mga checkpoint at yung may super stringent na mga quarantine protocols, etc., etc. Girl, the queers were arrested. They were just, they were social distancing, holding placards. They were arrested back in 2020. So this is our return to Mindola. The gays are coming back. The gays
are coming back, and like not to create a personality cult around one figure. But if you go to Mindola, you might see Miss Ray from Bahaghari.
Oh, girl, Rain.
She's so beautiful. Never has a name, Reyna, been more appropriate for the person.
Reyna, that's
like the estrogen is just glowing from her pores. We love you, Miss Ray.
okay. Sino nga yung among the trans women in the Philippines? You share links, right? To
Yeah, of course, girl. How else do we survive? That's how trans women survive.
Remember nung sinabi ko sa'yo na, oh girl, I think this Shopee, this orange app, this source closed, this is available. And you check your phone immediately and you're like, what? Oh my God, no. Let me chat ko
Yeah, thank you. This is the importance of community, because without community, I wouldn't know like where to get basic pills and basic healthcare, and like I wouldn't be able to get the support I need. Thank you again to like, for example, girl, before I transitioned, I literally talked to Miss Ray because I was so confused, and she showed me the light.
She is a light. She is the way.
I felt so guilty then that I was taking up her precious time. I sent her a bottle of wine.
Oh, bottle of wine, parang guest speaker.
Yeah.
May token of appreciation.
But she was so kind and she was so considerate, and she really helped me sort through my feelings. So I'm really appreciative of that.
That's important.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing yung sasabihin ko sana before talking about the politics of organizing Pride events. Because we also have to talk about the uptick in HIV cases in the country.
Oh, that's true. It's scary, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It's wild. First of all, it's wild how the reaction is, dahil sa mga kabaklaan, dahil sa mga immoralidad na mga pinaggagawa ng mga as opposed to like, titingnan mo na
It's a healthcare crisis.
it's a healthcare.
crisis.
It's always been like a health crisis, diba? Back when it was, it was a new thing. It was called the gay disease then, and it's tinatawag pa rin siyang gay disease ngayon. Na kung titingnan niyo naman, wala tayong solid na sex education program
We
dito.
don't have solid sex education.
Paano ba natatransmit in the first place ang HIV?
And people also forget that, like, for example, HIV is not the only sexually transmitted disease you can get.
Exactly. There are many, STDs such as gonorrhea. So, nakwento ko to before,
That
pero
would
yung
be like I don't know if someone made a joke already, but that would be like a good baby girl's name, gonorrhea, if like it didn't actually mean what it meant.
the Oscar-winning film Gonorrhea Girl.
Gonorrhea.
Sorry.
Rhea, tapos nickname niya Rhea.
Gonorrhea.
Nickname niya Rhea.
Please wag yung pangalanan yung mga anak yung gonorrhea, please. Pero nakita ko to before yung only like solid, the only time na nagkaroon ng sex education program sa Catholic high school namin, may pumunta nag-flash ng mga genitalia na may syphilis
Diba?
at
Tapos
gonorrhea.
yung mga and that's like really harmful because like you're shaming people for getting STDs when it's like getting an STD, contracting it. It's not like a moral failing on someone's part.
Yeah, di ba? So, parang instead na, mas maganda sana siguro kung alam in the first place ng mga, kasi the thing is, young people are getting HIV. More and more young people are getting HIV. So parang, how do we prevent this? Magsistick pa ba tayo rin sa shaming, moral shaming?
Right?
Celibacy is the key.
Yeah, and I
now,
think
this is the reality we're living in.
Yeah.
More and more young people are engaging in sexual activity. How do we, help them, guide them?
They need to be equipped.
They need to be equipped, literally. Condoms, contraception.
Yeah, remember that scene in Heartstopper where like they were in the sex ed class and then like Tao and
The cucumber.
the cucumber. Like, people don't know basic like how to put on a condom. You don't need to do that on an actual penis. You do that on a cucumber or a banana because there's an actual right way to put on a condom.
Yeah, and
Comment below if you want us to demonstrate next episode.
we'll,
On a banana.
we'll check with our editors first. But yeah, I can't believe you just said yeah, right in front of you. Okay. So ano pa sabi ko? It's not encouraging people to have sex just because you show them how to
Yes,
put on a
you're
condom.
just showing them how to be prepared.
Right?
You're showing them how to be prepared. And like, it's kind of also scary. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you grew up like this, but like, I think as a gay person, or as a queer person, when you encounter the idea of gay sex for the first time, it's something really scary because of all the stigmas around it. Like, kapag sex ka, makuha ka ng HIV. And I think that like really instilled like a lot of anxiety and fear in me. And like,
True.
It detracts from the idea that like sex would be something joyful. Sex would be something intimate that you share with another person.
Yes, at the end of the day, sex is a human act.
Yeah, sex is a human
It's
act.
how like literally we were born, how we were conceived.
No, I came from sea foam. That's
Okay.
how I was born. Like someone threw Zeus's penis in the sea, and then
Uranus.
yeah, in the sea,
Uranus.
and then like I came out of that sea foam. That's actually how Aphrodite was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a painting of you too by
okay.
Botticelli.
Thank you, Botticelli.
Botticelli. He got botched. Botticelli. I actually came from, the planet Mars.
Yeah.
From
Hi, Mars.
Hi Mars. Hi Che. Girl. Okay, so HIV, paano to ma-resolve, definitely not by, keeping on shaming people who got HIV. And the thing is, dumami yung recorded HIV cases kasi dumami rin yung nagpapatest.
Which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. That
know your
people get
status.
tested. And like there's nothing wrong with getting tested, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're Lebanese. We should all get Japanese or
Japanese.
Don't be a drag, just be a
Don't be
queen.
a drag, just be a queen.
Yeah, you should get tested. I remember though that there was like I think someone was proposing like a mandatory HIV testing for everyone, which I don't think is correct because you're pressuring people and usually it ends up targeting minorities.
Why make it mandatory?
Yeah.
Like, the drug testing in the scheme in the country, you're applying things that don't work to something that you could apply policy to that could work. No, experiment naman, di ba? Gagawin kailangan mo talaga mandatory. Why not encourage? No? Educate to encourage.
And
Tsaka
like,
may mga available na na libre na. Of course, there's Hash and there's Love Yourself.
Love Yourself,
PH, di ba?
yeah.
These are free yung testing HIV. You can get PrEP for free in these, or at least for hash. I know. Na you can get free testing and free prep. So you can
I
always
was
reach out.
also surprised that, like, for example, a lot of young people don't know, like, what PrEP is and what it does. You know, for the audience who might not know, PrEP is a drug, pre-exposure
It's a legal-
prophylaxis,
it's a legal
drug that reduces your risk of contracting HIV.
Illegal. It's not illegal.
Yeah, illegal.
It reduces your
Risk
chances
of contracting HIV by around 99%. There are those options, of course, that
Yes,
are open to people.
let's break the stigma once and for all. Sabi nga ni my Miss Universe, Miss Pia words back, it's a very real and, ano sabi niya sa Miss Universe? To my country, which is whatever, I forgot.
You're getting your gay card revoked.
I know,
I can't
forgot.
remember that though,
I
but I'm a
forgot.
stay-at-home mom, so.
Well, yung pagkapanalo ni Pia words back, iconic, I was having breakfast when I saw the coronation and I was like, okay, Miss Columbia won. And then Steve Harvey, wait a minute.
Wait
I'm sorry. Hold up. They don't love you. The Miss Universe is Miss Philippines. And then Pia was like shocked.
You remember that one video of Pia on Instagram? I don't know if it was an IG story or a post where, like, she was like, oh, di nyo to kaya gawin. And then, like, she lifted her boyfriend's arm and sniffed his armpit. Sobrang baklang bakla. Oh my God.
That's why she's my Miss
That's
Universe.
sisterhood. That's she's our miss. That's people's princess.
People's princess
People's princess.
is relevant to talk
I
about.
hope we all can go to Pride events if we can. And if you're not out yet, it's okay. We all
Take your
our
time.
time coming out, and there is no one way of being gay or queer.
Oh, how about this? Sorry to cut you off. I'm just
Silencing a trans woman.
silencing a trans woman on the pod. What advice would you give to your pre-transition?
Not this RuPaul. What would you say
Picture.
to your 5-year-old self? I do think I will tell her to not feel that much pressure. Like, you're gonna look bricky for a few years. You're gonna look a bit busted because you're still finding your style. You're still finding what looks good on you, and you're gonna buy some stuff which won't fit, and that's fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. But just, like, I think you should take great pleasure in the fact that you actually feel like a person now. What would you say to pre-transition Neil?
First of all, protective bricks. To my, you're gonna get bitten by dogs. You're gonna get slapped across the face. Sure.
By dogs?
Yes, also by dogs. What would I say? I don't know, girl. It's okay. Chill. First of all, I'm gonna tell myself, chill ka lang. And I don't know how well it would translate, pero parang just don't give into the pressure na re-receive mo sa mga tao sa paligid mo. Do things at your own pace, and starting from just a young age, try to enjoy your experiences because you're only gonna get to experience them once. And eventually you're gonna figure out that isa sa mga iti-treasure mo sa buhay mo ay yung mga magagandang alaala mula sa kabataan mo. So, try to live in it as much as you can.
Yeah. I do think there's a turning trend now among queer people na parang naubusan tayo ng oras. That, like,
Yeah.
because I think, a lot of us just came out relatively later.
We actually we were born in this world once
From
through
Seafoam.
From Seafoam, or kung sa mga regular na tao dyan katulad ko sa mga sinapupunan ng nanay natin or si Sarian, di ba, like me. So, and then we are born again when we come to terms with who we are as people, informed by our environment and the people we surround us.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I just like to think that, like, we're not running out of time because, like, even if you come out at like 40, 50, there's still a lot of life to live.
Right.
So we shouldn't feel as if it's okay to feel that, of course. It's okay to feel that, but I don't think we should feel as if everything is hopeless, as if wala na tayo pwede gawin. And at the same time, I think it's also a call for other younger people like you just a call for younger people.
Yes,
Just like,
mama.
if you see a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old queen at the club, don't make fun of them.
Who does that? Which loser does
which
that?
loser makes fun of like older queer people? Like that's not like we don't know what they went through, and especially
Girl,
considering
celebrate
that-
your elders.
Celebrate your elders.
You don't know what they fought for,
If
what
like
they've been
you
through.
see, if you see her, if you see a Lola or Lola, just like in full sequin at the club, celebrate them because
Celebrate.
you don't know that maybe
them
it's
one
the
of
first
this.
time. Maybe it's the first time they're actually comfortable going out like that in public. So.
Diba? And now, before we end, you have books.
Oh yeah, so
Or back.
I was able to regain my
Yes.
talent in reading because reading because I in exchange to the troll I made a deal with, I gave up my ability to taste wine, so
Okay.
I can't taste.
It's expensive anyway.
It's expensive anyway. So one, I just finished this book. It's called Peripheral Visions by the Filipino writer Eric Gamalinda. It's a collection of his short stories. It's a rather old book. It was published before either of us were born, 1992. And then I found it at a secondhand bookstore online. And it's a really wonderful collection of stories. I think Gamalinda has a background as a poet. Ateneo Press recently reissued his collection, Amiga Warfare, and his control of language is really apparent in his stories. His stories adopt various tones. Like some of them are a little more ironic, campy, humorous. Like there's this one story of of two brothers hiring an exorcist from the province because they want to get rid of their mother's spirit kasi she's still nagging them. And then there's this other story, which is very much like Italo Calvino, where he gives brief snapshots of the different planets in the solar system and talks about life in each planet, like how life in Venus is full of beauty to the point where they exile all the uglies to the margins. So yeah, just finished reading that, and I'm reading right now this book. It's called The Oceans of Cruelty, 25 Tales of a Corpse Spirit.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride! It's a retelling of different Sanskrit tales by the writer Douglas Pennick. So basically, it comes from a very interesting premise. What I like about reading these like classical texts is they show that like storytelling really is an impulse that people have had for the longest time. It's kind of like those collections of different tales like 1001 Arabian Nights. This one's very interesting because it starts from the premise that okay, so there's this oil seller. His name is Brahman. And then one night he dreams and accidentally wanders into the realm of the gods, Siva and Parvati, if I recall correctly. And Siva and Parvati are making love, and their moans were actually stories that they told each other. And unfortunately, though, he's Brahman, the oil seller, is cursed to become a corpse spirit because he intruded on the gods' private lives. So he's made into a spirit, and the only way to escape it is to tell all the stories to a king in quick succession. So yeah.
Okay, work. You love your
I
fantasy.
love literature.
You love your
literature.
whimsical stories.
Thank you. Shout out to all the English teachers who helped your gay students come out.
Oh, girl, yeah, diba? Were you also best in
yeah.
English?
Oh, yeah, it's
Diba?
also best
Something
in
about being queer and English and literature. Girl. Although at one point, I nag-play kami ng mga Greek mythology, and I was like Achilles so I had to play math.
Well, Achilles was gay af.
Yeah, but I had to play like math. It was Achilles versus Hector.
Okay.
So I had to play like "Wah." So that was something new for me back then.
Okay.
Okay. So what else? Happy Pride.
Happy
everyone.
Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride, mga mahal.
And may team ba for the Pride March this year?
Not that I know of.
I'm
Not that
sure.
I know of. Oh, aside from the 26th, there's also a 28th Pride celebration in UP Diliman.
Okay.
And hopefully everyone who steps into the Pride grounds come to celebrate. And, if you're not part of the LGBTQ plus alphabet and agenda, hopefully you come as an ally,
Sana you're also willing to fight, even outside of Pride Month. Fight for the Soji bill,
Soji
fight
bill.
for the right to care, fight for same-sex marriage, and fight for equal rights for everybody.
Whole year
whole year
not
round,
just
yeah.
on Pride Month. Let's make it a Pride decade.
Yes, let's make it a Pride humanity.
Pride humanity.
We should be proud that we're still here, girl.
We're still here.
That we're still here
Oh my God.
after everything the world has thrown at queer people. We're still here and relatively functioning.
Yeah.
Some
sometimes.
kinks, some kinks in there, but
Kinks? Like what? Oh!
Happy Pride,
Happy
everyone.
Pride. Okay. See you out there in the
See you out
streets.
there.
Maybe let's do an episode like sa Pride March mismo.
Yeah.
No, that's logistically nightmare.
Yeah. And
How
if it
long do you
rains,
think
girl.
you're gonna live for as a trans woman?
I don't think I'm gonna detransition anytime soon. No, or maybe if I like run
No,
out
but
of...
your life expectancy.
Okay, no, I was thinking if I run out of money and then like I do like a right-wing grift na parang... Sorry, I was more...
Okay, bye.
Bye!
So you're not the right way. Not the Elon Musk of it all.